For being here. According to the AARP, nearly 3 in 10 Floridians have stopped taking prescription medications because of the cost. Big Pharma's massive profits are being paid for literally by the lives of our people. It's very important that we in Congress understand the practices and that lead to higher drug prices. And one of these practices entails PBMs offering pharmaceutical companies prime placement on a health insurer's list of covered medications in exchange for steeper discounts or rebates on drugs. Mr. Baker, can you briefly walk us through how exactly the specific rebate process works?
Yes, thank you, sir. And I think the best way to do that is through an example. We've talked for years in the industry about the biosimilars coming for Humira. Humira is the largest pharmaceutical drug in the history of the world, $200 billion medication. We now have lower cost generic alternatives available. Very first biosimilar that came out at 2 list prices. One, what we call high WAC, high rebate. So it was a 5% discount off what's almost a $9,000 a month drug. The second one was a low WAC, low rebate, 55% off. So as my previous comments just made, when we think about somebody who's got coinsurance or deductible and they have to show up at the pharmacy counter and pay a percentage, high is bad. The other issue is there is no visibility on how much of those rebate dollars are actually being paid into the system to, make cost of healthcare better. So we're living in a world where most PBMs continue to pick the high WAC, high rebate because they like the lack of transparency that goes into those rebate dollars. They can siphon some of that money off. And we really don't know which one of these is cheaper, but it should be going to the lower cost option in our opinion.
And some would say that the current system incentivizes drug companies to have higher prices so they can give higher discounts, rebates to PBMs. Do you agree with that?
I would agree with that, yes, sir.
Florida consistently ranks as the most popular place to retire in America. However, with a larger population of seniors comes a larger population of folks vulnerable to healthcare challenges, and that essentially especially sensitive to the price of prescription drugs. Dr. Atkins, you testified about a case in which your patient insurance company charged her a copay of $1,500 per month for a drug she needed to treat her cancer. That's simply unaffordable for many Americans. In fact, most Americans, over 60%, can't afford an unexpected $400 bill tomorrow. What happens to patients whose doctors aren't able to take the time out of their busy day to see if their prescriptions can be obtained for a more affordable price?
Most of those patients just won't take the medication, and then that will affect their life expectancy.
Dr. Duane, my first question for you is, can you briefly, and hello to another fellow Floridian, Duval. My question for you is, can you briefly share the important role of independent pharmacies like yours, what role they play in the community, especially for those who face barriers to accessing healthcare?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So my pharmacies are located in lower income parts of Duval County. We're kind of the hub. It's more than just, here are your medicines. We put the pills from a big bottle into a littler bottle for you. I have people that bring letters from their bank or from the electric company and ask me to read them because they're functionally illiterate. I have people who ask, my HMO is telling me I have to see a new doctor. I need a new primary care doctor. Do you have any recommendations? Who else do you see that comes through here? So it's much more important to the community than just the actual prescription filling process. I'll say that Representative earlier asked about an article from the Journal of the American Medical Association about what happens when a community pharmacy, especially an independent community pharmacy, closes. People get sicker when that happens. In that zip code, when a community pharmacy closes, their blood pressure goes up. They have more heart disease. There are more heart attacks. These are things that we can definitively link to the absence or presence of a community or independent pharmacy in a particular zip code. So it's vital for the community.
And PBMs have a lot to answer for when it comes to the sky-high prices of drugs, but big pharmaceutical companies, like Representative Garcia pointed out, have been price gouging for years. This is something that personally impacted me. In 2017, Mylan, the pharmaceutical company responsible for EpiPen, settled a $465 million class action lawsuit over a scheme to avoid paying rebates so they can maximize profits. In 2016, an EpiPen 2-pack cost folks $313, according to the suit. Now, it costs between $650 and $700. 4 years ago, I almost died because I didn't have an EpiPen. I carry one everywhere I go now. If you weren't able to afford it and you have an anaphylactic attack, you die. Dr. Duane, what can be, almost no time left, but real quick, Dr. Duane, what can be done to level the playing field so independent pharmacies like yours can keep serving our communities and hard-to-reach populations?
Yeah, I mean, it's just very difficult for us to compete when the person that we're trying to compete with holds all the cards. When the person who makes the contract is also the person who owns the competitor, which is also the person who increasingly owns the doctor's office, which is also increasingly the person who owns the insurance company. I mean, you can't hope to compete with that. So I think anything that's addressed as far as looking at how they stacked up, how they got to be that stacked up, and how we can make sure that there's still level playing field within that system of integration.
Of course. Thank you so much for your time. I yield back.
Chair now recognize Mr. Sessions from Texas for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.